This is the Rodney Bull Show, bringing you truth about money they never taught you. Now, here's your host, the man himself, Rodney Bull.
G'day legends, and what's cracking? Welcome back to the Rodney Bull Show. Today's guest knows exactly what it means to look successful on the outside and how to work hard and climb the ladder. But to also realise that in reality, that ladder might be leaning against the wrong bloody wall. Daniel Rogers spent more than 20 years leading major programs inside some of the world's biggest tech companies until he made a bold move. At just 43, he retired early, lucky bastard. Not through luck or a windfall of some kind, but by building a clear, data-driven plan that gave him back control of his time. He's an award-winning author of Escape the Clock and host of the Escape the Clock podcast, and the creator of practical tools that have already helped thousands of people start building a work-optional life. If you're ready for real frameworks and straight-up strategies to take back control of your money and your future, you're going to love this one. Daniel Rogers, welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you, Rodney. Happy to be here.
Very good to have you on, mate. Really is. Looked into a bit of your work, mate, recently, and I'm pretty impressed with your resume cover. Really am. You've done some good stuff, and you're out there doing some really good stuff. So I'm really pleased to have you on the podcast today, mate. So you can share some of your vital knowledge with my listeners, mate, and help do what we're both trying to do, mate, to educate people about this very important subject. So if you could,
happy
mate,
to.
just give us a bit of a background, mate, a bit of your history, if you don't mind, throughout your life and where you got through to today, mate.
Sure. Just was hustling the best I could, like all of us. We were dealt whatever hand of cards were dealt when we start. I was the eldest of three brothers. We were going through poverty situation. My father had gone through a bankruptcy, tried to get into the movie rental business before the big chains came in, like back when there was things like Blockbuster videos and stuff. They had come in, and it was a little bit too early on that one. Really knocked us off financially. We ended up trying to recover. He ended up living on his own, trying to get work wherever he could. We were following him. I ended up becoming a new kid at school every other year. I think we moved 12 times. And, there was really no financial plan other than recover. But I was always a bit of a hustler. I was willing to work part-time jobs. I was able to get a job when I was 14, bagging groceries. And then I was able to convince someone to give me a job doing truck dispatching, where I was literally the kid answering the phone and finding out where the loads would be picked up or where the next delivery would go, and getting all the truckers updated in the database. So I was doing that job. That was a great job. And then I was working at an arcade. I was, any job I could get. I worked at a retail place, trying to make whatever money I could, and then realized to escape the situation, I had to do something better than that. So I decided to borrow money and go to university. That was not in the plans. Ended up becoming very expensive. I was over $125,000 in debt by the end of it. Borrowed everything I could.
At a young age, mate.
That was a lot of debt. It was pretty scary, and just really remember thinking, okay, well, I got through all this, and I actually had a job coming out of college, which is a big deal. I picked computer programming because I remember doing a Yahoo search back then about, this is before Google, about what had a decent salary. And that was kind of becoming a bigger career. So I said, okay, I'll do that. Not because I had any talent or interest in it, but just because I thought it would pay the bills.
Yep.
And I got a $60,000 salary back then, and I thought it was a big deal. But after deductions and everything like that, I was actually negative. I was still going the wrong way. I couldn't pay. I had to start paying off school loans because you can only defer those so long. I had credit card, over $8,000 in credit card debt. I had just gotten married and we had a mortgage. And so all the bills, all of life's stuff, and it was quite humbling. So I guess my story was someone who was always hustling my whole life, I started making career moves. I would move from, I was working at a air conditioning company doing all their website design and computer programs. Then I worked for a flight information display company that made the display signs at airports.
Oh,
And then
okay.
I'm working for a company that made instruction manuals for things like buses or jets or even just like appliances. So I'm working at any company I can to make a little bit more salary, step by step by step, till I realized all I'm doing is grinding my time away and killing myself just to barely get ahead. So in desperation, I made a bigger move. I uprooted my family. I applied to Microsoft because I realized I could get a bigger salary at big tech,
Yep.
and moved all the way across the United States with my wife and my young son.
Big
And
call,
yeah,
mate.
the
Brave
salary
move.
was better. Ooh, the cost of living went up. And I found the grind just continued all the way until I got myself organized and hit financial independence. But that's the really quick version. It's basically a life story of hustling and trying to do the best I can and realizing until I got educated, I really was going nowhere fast.
Yeah, education's the key, mate. I walked a bit of a similar road myself, mate. Grew up out in the bush on a big cattle station, and then moved into what we called the big city when I was about 10 year old, which isn't. It was just a big country town, but it was a city to us. A place called Townsville in North Queensland. And
Yeah,
parents had a milk run. They were hard workers. All our lives were same thing, mate. We never had a lot of money, but parents put food on the table and clothes on our back and a roof over our head. We never wanted for nothing. There was plenty of love. And spent a lot of my time. Same thing, mate. Started working early. Had a paper run as a kid when I was about 11, 12 year old, and
that too. Yeah,
hustling, help dad with the milk run and all that sort of stuff on weekends, getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning, going delivering milk to people all over the countryside. So, and then, yeah, same thing, I've finished, only made it through to grade 10 in high school, mate. And then, yeah, went out working, school wasn't a place for me. Didn't appeal to me much at all. So, but education system then as such, it wasn't appealing, but definitely outside of school, education is the key. But, to educate yourself is the trick, well and truly, big time. So, yeah, in a lot of jobs working in the bush, and then same thing, tried to get an apprenticeship but couldn't get one, and then moved moved out into the bush chasing cows again, and then got into operating machinery, and ultimately went into the mining game, went drilling, and been in the coal mining industry now for 22 years. So as a big machinery operator in the big open cut coal mines, and worked underground and all of it, mate. So yeah, it's funny the paths that right life takes you down, eh?
but you get it. Like you can stay busy
Yeah, mate,
doing all
for
this
sure.
just to make ends meet. And that's what my life was like until I realized that education, the United States education system's pretty crappy, and there's zero financial education at all.
Yeah,
Yet
mate, well, it's
it's
the same here. It's just rubbish. You
yeah.
just get taught nothing, and the sad part is that our parents and grandparents pretty much had the same deal, mate, so they never got to teach us too much, My parents done the best they could by me and done a bloody good job, but same thing, they only had limited education and limited knowledge and very little around money, eh? Not
Well,
not to
and
the extent
this
that we need to know.
and they didn't the stakes weren't quite the same. I mean, it depends on what generation we're talking about exactly, but like my parents' generation, they didn't have to really know all that much to get ahead. Like the housing market was quite different. For instance, you just get a house and
Yeah,
it just appreciated. You just put money into, you stay at a company and get a pension. The pension takes care of you, or you
yeah,
put money into a retirement plan. And back then, there was enough benefits in there that it could actually cover what you needed. So there were, a little bit easier mode, but it's only gotten harder and harder. And like the newest generations in particular, I can share some stats if you're interested, but
yeah,
wow,
mate, please do. Yeah,
oh yeah,
it's daunting, eh?
it's
It
tough.
really is, and that's the thing. Like my journey's led me down the road to realise, when things really changed in the system, and they changed big time back in 1971 when your President Nixon took us off the gold standard, and
Mhm.
that's why,
Yep. To the
like
fiat system.
money had real sense to it, and real buying power back before then, and that was in our parents' time, That's why things were so different and actually not easier for them, but it was just that their money held purchasing power better than what it does
That's right.
for us today.
Yeah, you had a commodity which actually had real value to it, a capital,
Yeah,
which was easier to exchange without that type of inflation that we see today. But in the fiat system, without a gold standard or something there behind it, all we see are stimulus and interest cuts, and all that does is exacerbate debt. And
yeah,
that's why we see debt growing at record rates, but also being in a consumerist society where people do chase the idea of spending over saving and wealth, it does create that problem even worse. It's kind of like digging a pit for yourselves. And like the Gen Z generation, the 18 to 28-year olds, they have $34,000 worth of total average debt, which is
yeah,
a $3,500 average credit card balance. That's for young people. That
yeah.
debt has been growing at 7.8% year over year. That's the fastest of any generation ever in debt growth. I mean,
Scary
and
stuff,
it's not
mate.
much
Eh?
better if you go back. You go to millennials, Gen X, or boomers, the debt's there as well, but you can see it's almost exponential in how it's increasing.
Yeah, yeah, it's just out of control, eh? And like you said, around that fiat-based system, debt-based system that we run on, just got to keep printing more and more money and creating more and more debt, mate, because that's how the system actually works. It's designed to work, and that's how it stays alive. And
Yeah,
unless you get
and
yourself educated around it, you will be a debt slave.
I think education it's not even a negotiable anymore. Like, for me, I teach the idea of how to understand all the money stuff so that you can have the option not to have to work if you don't want to. But honestly, I feel like you need to know a lot of this stuff just to survive now,
Yeah,
because the amount that your purchasing power is degrading based on inflation alone is getting really scary. The world market economy, things with taxation and tariffs, these things are making it much harder for labor to be worthwhile or good enough to cover your basis.
yeah.
So it's not like you can just say, oh, I can just work forever. Well, that's not in your health and all that other stuff. There's so many risks there that you really need to figure out what are the basic money moves, at least, so that you're protecting yourself from all these different situations that are worsening.
Oh yeah, mate, for sure. Like it's heading down a bad road, and like ever since the COVID times, like it's just really, really gone exponential in the last 5 years, eh? It's
Yeah.
just wild, wild watching the debt levels of your country and our country. Like we're a lot smaller country, but our debt levels are just astronomical. We broke into over $1 trillion worth of debt. Your country now 38 trillion and climbing. Like it's
It's
wild,
just
eh? It's just a crazy number to try and get your head around.
it's a house of cards, right? Like it's not a matter of if, it's when will there be a collapse, right?
Yeah,
Like that you cannot sustain on that type of debt. It's just
yeah,
not possible. And so who is going to feel that the most? Well, it's going to be the people in the who are most economically vulnerable.
yeah,
And so, this is the time to make some moves. If you look something as simple as emergency savings, like do you have at least 3 months worth of money somewhere to cover your life if you need it? Well, if you look at boomers, it's only 16% of that generation doesn't have any emergency savings.
yeah,
That's still 16%, still kind of high. But if you look at millennials, it's 28%. If you look at Gen Z, it's 34%. So,
yeah.
that's a significant number of people if you think about the population
Oh,
that have no money. Not only do they have no money, they have negative net worth. I mean, they owe money. Not only do they have not a single dollar to be able to pay, they probably are struggling to pay that minimum balance on a credit card. How do you get out of that situation when you feel like you are just trying to keep your head above the water? Well, the good news is there are moves you can make to start to take control back and go back the other way. But so many people are in this kind of fight for their life mode, and the system is just making that harder and harder.
yeah, mate. It's quite diabolical, eh? And I find it a bit evil myself. I really do, and it's a very sad state of affairs that our world is in because of this system that our world runs on. As far as our current financial monetary system, it's just terribly broken, terribly broken. needs to be changed. So going forward, mate, can anyone achieve financial freedom, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, you can. I think what it comes down to is understanding what the life you want to live is, because you're paying for the life that you want to live, and I mean we're doing that right now. Even if you're not paying attention to your numbers, like you still have a bill that you're paying every year. You have a cost of living. Could
Yeah.
let's just say it's $150,000. Maybe that's your average and you're spending 150,000. I'm just using US dollars to make it simple,
Yeah,
but
mate.
$150,000 a year that you're spending just to do the types of things you're doing right now. Well, those costs will fluctuate a bit. They fluctuate with inflation, they fluctuate with life events like marriage or divorce, or you know, kids moving out, whatever it's going to be, medical stuff.
Yeah.
But in general, you make decisions across your life which will impact the cost of your life. And so a lot of people will go, well, I'm barely making it right now, through my whole paycheck disappears. Well, I think a lot of people in those situations aren't going to have any shot of financial independence because they haven't done the basics yet, which is first you have to inventory your where you stand. Like, where's your money going?
Yeah.
If you don't know where your money's going, you can't make any moves to improve that situation because you're blind. So the first thing you have to do is kind of open your eyes to that. That luckily that's not too difficult to do. It does take a little bit of vulnerability because now you're actually starting to pay attention to your spending. You have to be honest about, why you're spending on certain things, because there's real data that shows that when you are living a stressful life, you are more likely to spend or splurge, for a lack of a better word, on things you don't need. Yeah. So it's like this irony. The more you need the money,
for a way out, like a bit of a dopamine hit to
relieve
the stress.
You're looking for relief. Exactly. Like, life sucks. Like, I want to enjoy it a little bit. So you spend a little bit more, but that's the irony of it. The ones that, need to be more responsible with it might spend a little bit more recklessly. Now, it can go the other way too. There are people who are over sacrificers, who are so bullish on this idea of make every single penny count. They won't spend anything on themselves. So there's kind of extremes to it. But the short answer is yes, anyone can achieve it. Anyone, as long as you have income. You have to have some cash somewhere, and it can be from benefits, it can be from a job, it doesn't matter. But you have to have some cash. And then it comes down to that the size of that price tag of the life that you want to live. If we look at the numbers and show that you're spending $150,000 a year, but you can only afford to live on $100,000 a year, well, okay, to achieve financial independence, you're going to have to be able to make some changes in your life to bring that deficit down a bit, so that you can start to bank the money in the right places. And there's certain places we put this so it can grow, compound, but it gets to a point where you can maintain, let's say, $100,000 for the rest of the years that you need. Sometimes that means moving, like some geographic arbitrage, which is literally you might need to move. You might need to switch a type of job you're working. You might need to make other life decisions, like a spouse going to work, or getting a new education. There's all kinds of things that can happen there when it comes to that, but it just depends on the size of the life that you're trying to fund. But almost anyone can do it, even where they are, is what I found through helping people.
Yeah, I like that, mate. Well said. And it made me think of something that Jim Rohn said. I listened to a lot of Jim Rohn throughout the years, and he made a statement there one time, like, if you don't like your life, he's like, you're not a tree. You can pick yourself up and move camp, go somewhere else. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty well said. Mate, your style of program that you run, really beneficial by the looks of it, mate. What does your style of program do that's better and more beneficial than most financial plans, and what are the most financial plans fail?
Yeah, I mentioned I did the computer programming thing, but that's not where I ended up ending my career. I ended up becoming a program manager by the end of it, because I noticed when I was working for all these companies, they needed people to run these big complex initiatives.
Yep.
And these were like their big strategic things or product launches or whatever it was. And it'd be hundreds of people, complex goals, and you'd break it down. You have these milestones and these task lists and these measurable results. And it's so effective when you have a plan like that. It just takes all the human emotions out. It takes all the guesswork out. You can actually see what's working, and you just put the gas pedal down on those things, or you pump the brakes or stop the things that don't work. You have mitigation plans, so you know what might go wrong. So you're not being emotional when they do, and you're always getting ahead. So these things are so powerful. And I realized I was applying those same skills to my own financial independence. I built a program plan. So a lot of people think, you go to a finance advisor and they'll say, okay, here, you're going to do all the work. Give us all the data. We're going to go in and we'll run it through our software, our spreadsheets, and we're going to like calculate some numbers, and then we'll tell you a couple of things to do. And then you can pay us and we'll keep working with you on that. Yep. That's a lot of people think about when it comes to a finance plan. Having a financial independence program is different because you literally have a roadmap in front of you that is personalized to your journey. So that is the life I'm trying to fund. This is where I am. This is my account balances, and these are my big numbers I'm trying to hit. And you celebrate these big moments in your life, these big milestones, where it might be you eliminated enough debt, you got your net worth to where you needed, your retirement accounts where you need it, your passive incomes where you need it, whatever it is, whatever is part of your plan. And it's these celebration moments, very data oriented, and it just mitigates the human side of where people struggle when it comes to achieving something that's hard and complex, where we have to mitigate ourselves because sometimes we are our own biggest enemies when it comes to, I mean, there's a reason that everyone has a New Year's goal that fails in the first month, right? Everyone's like, I have a New Year's goal and then I stop. You have something like this, it keeps you honest, it keeps you on track.
Yeah. Definitely. It's been a big learning for me along the way too, mate. Like really got to work on yourself, and on your mindset and the understanding around it. And like you said, get yourself a clear picture in your mind of what sort of life it is that you want to live, mate, and not get caught up in all of the materialistic side of it. Really focus on what it is you want and how you want your life to play out, and ultimately planning for your long-term future. And so it really comes down to that mindset and learning about how to control your emotions, and if you can take your emotions out of it and just automate stuff and put it down in a system like what you have developed.
Yeah, everyone wants more money. Like, I don't think I've met anyone who said, "Hey, I wouldn't appreciate more money."
There's nothing wrong with wanting to be rich, mate. Like, it's good. It's a good thing to be able to have the money to live comfortably, so you don't have to be stressing about it.
Well, we're really good at spending what we have. Like, like whatever's in that paycheck, you're probably able to spend it at the end of the day. Like if you wanted to, and so we're looking for more isn't necessarily a real goal though. Like wanting more is probably because you have some intrinsic worry that you don't have enough, or, or it could be greed. It can be all kinds of stuff. Because there's all these like there's a bunch of psychology about all this stuff as well. But what I'm getting at is knowing what enough is. You defined enough. You know what that magic number is that you're going to, once you get there, you're okay. And I look, there's some nuance to it. I'm oversimplifying a little bit. It's not like there is one number. Like depending on your age and your goals, if you're in the United States and you're going to take retirement benefits, like be officially retired, there's certain retirement accounts that you have to have a balance in. But if you're going to do an early retirement like I did, you need money in other places in addition to that. Brokerage accounts, like non-retirement accounts. You also want to have some cash flow coming in because there's a psychology with not wanting to feel like you're just taking money out, withdrawing. And that because this withdrawal thing, it's just crazy. You want to feel like you're still getting a paycheck even when you stop working. And so there's like these little things that you do. And when you have those things in place, now you go, I'm okay. And now you're no longer you're chasing wealth. You're not chasing a bigger number, because what you'll see is someone will say, I need $3 million, something like that, whatever. I'm just making up a number. Yeah. Then they get to $3 million and they go, oh, I thought I would feel better once I hit that number. But you don't. Nothing magically different happens. And so you go, oh, you know what? What I really needed was 4 million. And then you start chasing that. Well, guess what? You get to 4 million, you're going to push the goalpost again. So goalpost pushing is a very common thing that when we don't actually haven't defined what that life is and know what the math is to know that we've achieved being able to afford that life. But once you've done that, that's what all my program plans do. I have the tool. I literally have a free tool where people just put the data in and they can build that thing. Once you do that, it's like all that weight comes off. And then you go, yeah, okay, sure, another $1 million would be great. I'm sure I could spend it. I don't need it.
Yeah.
And that changes the way you live. That changes the risks you take. It just changes everything.
Yeah. Well said, mate. Well said, like that. How can someone calculate their freedom number, mate, and what would be the best way to go about it, to try and really wrap their head around it? And I guess that ties into some of what you just said then.
Yeah, I wrote it in the book because I wanted people to be able to see the way this worked. And then I put it into I basically built a program planner for myself that I ran my own program with. I realized everyone would want that when they would do their own. So I templatized it and I put it up for free on my website. But basically what you would do is you put in your current age. Okay. And then it basically forecasts all the way out into the future. So, whatever your age is today, you say you're 50, it's going to forecast all the way out until you're 100. And then, you have to put in something called a baseline, which is this year's data. So for your age 50, what is how much did you spend in the year? How much income do you have coming in? How much balance do you have in your accounts? That's your baseline, right? You have to start somewhere. And now it comes down to financial strategies that are going to push the needle one way or another, right? Some people might try to push their income up. Some people might try to pay down debts, maybe build up assets like buying property. Maybe they're trying to grow their investment portfolios or fund a university savings account for a dependent. It doesn't matter what the goals are. The spreadsheet captures all of those things because it's all part of one financial picture. But what it does then is it simplifies the world for you because all those things are just data, right? Yeah. Those all roll in to the freedom numbers that you're talking about. And so there are really just 3 phases that matter: the working phase, the bridge phase, and the retirement phase. The retirement phase is when wherever you live, you can be taken care of by benefits or some government assistance of some type. You have, official eligibility because you're at some age or something that allows you to do that. In the United States, that's usually Social Security. So whatever year you declare Social Security, let's say it's 65, that year on is your retirement phase. Your working phase is, probably when the year you started working was 14 for me. It sounds like it was pretty easy early for you too, Rodney. But, that year up until the year you declare financial independence, you stop working. Yep. And then the bridge is everything in between. So that's those 3 phases help define the numbers you need, because the number you need for the bridge phase is different than the number you need for the retirement phase. Yeah. And that's what you're targeting.
Yeah, for sure, mate, for sure. Like you're through that bridge phase, you probably got some higher expenses, I suppose, along the way. Like you said, different milestones, different things that happen throughout your time, as opposed to when you get into retirement. Hopefully, you don't have to downsize your life too much if you've managed to end up with a decent number tucked away for your nest egg, and hopefully that. The way I look at it, mate, is you want that money to still be working for you too, eh? You don't just want to be drawing down, like what happens if you live 10 years longer than you planned, like you don't know. You really don't.
Yeah. So. And there's strategies for all that stuff. But like you touched on one thing, which is compounding. You put money in certain places that have good rates of return that actually the interest can generate more interest for you. Those are snowballs, and the earlier you start, the better. But you can still catch up on those kinds of strategies. To be honest, life insurance is a strategy a lot of people use, knowing that, our disability insurance. There are certain insurances people use to mitigate the not having enough. There are also different investment strategies like doing like certificate deposit ladders where you constantly have interest streams coming in over time. I do stock optioning, so I don't
Yep.
have to withdraw my stocks, but I can still get cash out of my stocks. Some people like dividends. There are so many options. And the thing is you just pick the ones you like that you're comfortable with, and they align to your goal. And what they allow you to do is know that I already hit my freedom number, but I'm mitigating the risk of feeling like I'm going to get in trouble later if the market were to do something crazy or some catastrophe happen, because I know I have that buffer and high yield savings account, and I have that insurance policy, and I have, that interest constantly paying me every month or whatever it is. Those little things, they give you a lot of psychological safety, and even better, they build up even if you don't need it. And that's just extra money you have to maybe pass on to loved ones or a charity or whatever it is later in life.
Yep. No, for sure, mate, for sure. In regards to all of that, because that's all valuable information that you just shared there, and like you said, it's so vast. There is so many different
Yeah.
things that you can get into. Like the
Right.
financial and the monetary system is it's mind-boggling. It's monstrous how many different facets there are to it. I just keep finding out more and more stuff myself every day. It's like, wow, I didn't know about that. But what would you suggest along the lines of I'm a big believer in gold and silver myself, mate, and
Yep. I like that too.
cryptocurrencies are an interesting thing that have come about in recent years, and
Sure.
Bitcoin's probably the main one that most people know about.
Yeah.
It's if you go and get yourself some education around that, it's got some real good aspects to it, and
Mm.
has some promise to it being coming something real in the future.
Yeah.
Um, what would you personally suggest, or do you do yourself in regards to having yourself something safe and secure that is actually separated and outside of the system?
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. Yeah. And a lot of this does depend on people's age and, tolerance levels. Like a younger person can afford a lot more risk
Yeah.
than someone who might be a little older, who has, achieved more and has something to protect.
Yep.
So, it's hard for me to tell, someone who's 20 who, is just getting into investing for the first time to go heavy into, gold. It may, some of that is okay, but going all in there probably doesn't make a lot of sense. You
Never
probably
put
want to
all
go
your
with
eggs in one basket, mate, eh?
yeah, I mean, you don't want to do that anyways, but like, if you look at the return potential on, certain physical assets, I'll pick on something. Let's just pick on, oil for a second. That's probably not a great one, but you say, okay, I'm going to go all in on oil versus tech stock. I promise you, you're probably going to be frustrated compared to looking at someone else's portfolio who went heavier on tech stock versus oil, because the markets are very different. And if you don't understand the markets, it's not the end of the world. You have time to recover. But to answer your question, I do believe you do need to mix these things. It's called hedging. It's the idea that through diversification, meaning you don't put all your eggs in one basket, what you're trying to do is control covariance based on the idea that one market goes down, you aren't taking a wash because something else in your portfolio could go up, ideally. So you kind of balance it. Gold is fantastic. I love gold. I put a lot in gold myself, and I've done really well with that. Same with silver. Silver, I've done really well with as well. Now, I'm not saying people go buy gold and silver right now. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying go research what the right balance would be to the type of portfolio that either you have or you're trying to build. Because if you're that younger age, you're probably looking for more rockets. You're looking for that longer snowball effect. You might be frustrated if you put too much into commodities and you don't get the compounding growth that you would get from maybe a stock market investment, right? Crypto, you look like a genius if you did that like 5 years ago. But if you started doing it last year, you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, mate. There's some people hurting at the moment in it, but anyway,
yeah,
that's all
the
right. But
volatility is huge. Yeah. So it's like, you can't say, well, that's a no brainer. Well, it's not a no brainer. Actually, the problem with the crypto is it's so speculative that it's just based on a feeling and a guess. Like there's not a lot of real concrete stuff behind that. Now, that's not to say that it can't be a great investment, but it actually moves a lot more like a high volatile tech stock than it does anything else. So you're really not diversifying almost at all going into crypto if you're going into like a tech stock. So keep that in mind. But if you're in tech stock, putting something into a commodity like a gold or silver is a great idea. Even better if you can put something into like some type of treasury of some type, something that it has government backing to it and guarantees, that can really mitigate the risk of inflation. I like this thing called TIPS in the United States, Treasury Protected Securities. Like, I'm not saying you go all in on that. No. I'm just saying if you should have some percentage in something like that in the case that inflation is going to kill everyone. And then you would feel like a genius because you're inflation protected there. But, like I feel even when my portfolio is down, when I see, gold is up, but everything else is red, I feel pretty good because I actually see mine's not down that much, or gold might go down, but and the stock market's down in general. Maybe even crypto's down, but I might see that bonds and other and things are fine. Or I have cash. Cash is, I think cash is overlooked, to be honest. I thought people say, cash is, it's not, you want to invest it, you want it to grow. Of course, money market account, high yield savings account, something with an interest rate that beats inflation. That's all you really need there. And having that liquidity in cash means you are never going to miss a big opportunity when the market's down to buy in. And it means that you're always going to feel good that you have that cash. You're never going to regret having the cash there. I can promise you that.
No, it always pays to have a bit of dry powder up your sleeve, eh?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Truly, but you got to be careful too with that, Dan, at the same time, because, holding on to cash for too long, especially saving, the way I look at it through my learning journey, mate, saving in cash, you're actually a loser because inflation is just killing you. It's just eating you alive, and it's just getting worse and worse all the time. So that's why myself, I look at things like gold and silver, specifically, and a little bit of Bitcoin and different cryptos, but specifically gold and silver as my saving vehicle and as an insurance policy for in life, and I've found it to be a fantastic way to save. Like it holds your purchasing power no matter what over long periods of time, and you tuck your money away into them things, I've found, and you just forget about it. So your savings just keep on growing, and they don't go backwards. Whereas if you're saving in cash in the bank, you're just going backwards out of sight through inflation all the time. What $100 will buy you this year won't buy you the same next year. So your purchasing power is just decreasing at an exponential rate.
Yeah, I like the way you said that. Like, it really is kind of like an insurance policy in a way, is by doing those types of investments in that way. And like I said, like you'll feel really good about it that you've like mixed things up like that, and that you're protecting your purchasing power. Because when others are really struggling with their dollar not being worth even close to what it used to be, well, you'll have those assets that are still worth what they are, and you can get a lot more out of them because of that, and you'll have protected yours. But even like I sit on more cash than I think a lot of people consider they would sit on. A lot of people go, 3 months, maybe 6 months. I actually sit on a couple years worth. And I do that because I get a high interest rate. And so I'm doing much better than inflation on that interest rate. So I'm growing that cash. It's fully liquid. And, if I came down to it, I could survive 2 to 3 years on that cash, never have to touch any investment. And so it's in a way, it's a mitigation against needing to be forced to move on an investment if I don't want to move on an investment. And it gets some peace of mind. Now, I don't think everyone's going to be able to get to that point where you have 2 or 3 years of your costs covered into a high yield savings account or money market. But working towards that, think of it this way: working towards that, you're getting more and more interest. It's a passive income. So you're getting, interest out of it. Yep. and it's compounding, and you don't have to sit on it forever. Treat it as capital, investment capital. Get it, get it to that, whatever it is, the 20, 30, 50, $100,000, and then roll that into a certificate or some good lock in some good rate. It could be a property. Some people start investing in businesses. you know at that point, you're not borrowing anything. It's your money. You worked up and you got passive income along the way. I like that strategy. I've done that myself a few times.
Yeah, yeah, good, really well said, mate. Like, it just comes down to education, full stop, doesn't it? To be able to get yourself educated around understanding how all them processes work and what you need to do to be able to get yourself into them systems and lock them in, so that they can grow and build for you along the way.
Yeah,
Like,
a lot of it's math, but some of it's just like psychology stuff. But what I realized was, um, a lot of it I figured out just naturally, just like trial and error. And some of it was expensive error, but whatever.
yeah,
You
mate, I
could
made a
learn
few
it.
mistakes along the way, eh? And sure, I'll
For
make a
sure.
few more yet too. But anyway, that's life, eh? That's the best way we learn.
Yeah. And I decided to go back to school because, I'm in early retirement. I was like, hey, why not? I'll get a finance degree just to see what else I can learn. And I'm just finishing it. I'm about to take the final and get the certification.
Oh,
And
well done.
honestly, this last set of units were the ones I started learning something new. The rest of it, it didn't really teach me anything new that I hadn't figured out on my own. But now in the last units, it's all talking about advanced tax and estate stuff. Like there's some
Yep.
really complex tax and estate management things. I didn't know all those details. I would normally just pay someone to know those details. Now I have to know those details. But, outside of that nuance, all this stuff, it's out there. You can learn it. Like none of it's completely hidden from us. But the more you know, the more dangerous you can be, and the more you can protect yourself, because I hate to say it, ignorance is preyed on
Oh, and
everywhere.
terribly so. And that's
Yeah.
it leads me back to our so-called education system. It's the same, very poor here in our country, as you said it is in yours. Like, and you feels like you purposely dumbed down and information is hidden from you. So then it's up to you to go searching for that and really, really find the people out there like yourself, Dan, that have managed to learn a lot of it along the way. Not all of it by any means, but a lot of it, and you're out there sharing it with people. And there's lots out there. I've been very lucky to stumble across some of the amazing people that I've been learning from for the last 5 or 6 years, and
Awesome.
a lot of them are from your country. Some of them are from mine, some of them from all sorts of different parts of the world. Like that, there's some very, very intelligent, capable people out there that and have learned vast amounts, and they're just so willing to share it. It's so good.
Yeah. I mean, for some reason, when I was younger, I could not get myself to invest any money. I just could not get myself. I'd be like, I can't afford to do this. I can't. I don't know. I guess in my mind, it was a little bit like gambling or something. But now I ran all the data. If I would have invested $500 a month, which I could have afforded, I could have made that work. I invested $500 a month when I was 25 years old. Within 10 years, I would have had $1.5 million
Yeah.
just from those $500 a month investments. If I had, because I waited until I was 35 to start investing, after that 10-year period, I only netted $973,000. That means that 10 years of waiting to start investing, that cost me,
Oh,
$60,000 in contributions, $500,000 in lost compounding. That was an expensive loss by not realizing, like, it's just ignorance. I didn't understand why I would invest or what it would get me and the cost of waiting. And it's just easier to not do it than to do it. But looking back, that was such an expensive mistake that I made.
yeah, mate. Yeah, I was the same, mate. I was, hopeless with money in the first half of my life, and didn't make a lot in the early days. And then when I started getting into the mining game, started making good money. But I was lucky enough to go and buy my first house when I was about 30 or so, and I'm in my second home now. Haven't gotten into investment properties, but same thing, and other forms of investment. If I'd have got into them 10 years earlier, geez, it would have made a massive difference, you know. And I look at it, I've got 3 kids, 3 adult children, mate, and a couple of grandkids, and a third one on the way, actually. And
Congrats.
so I just look at it now, so urgent to try and educate my kids and anyone and everyone else that I possibly can. And that's the whole purpose of this podcast, mate, you know, and to continue to educate myself, mate, you know, so that I can try and pass that forward, you know. But like the way the system is now and the debt and everything like that, it's just so hard for our kids to have any chance of getting ahead, you know, unless they can get this education that they need and realize how important it is to save. And the biggest reason that you save in life, I believe now, is to invest so that your money can work for you instead of you working for your money.
Cheers to that. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm doing it too. I could be doing all kinds of other stuff with my free time, but I'm like, I wish someone had done this for me. I wrote a book because people asked me to write the book. I wasn't going to do that. I wanted to write a sci-fi book. I did that later, but with the finance,
good stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy when you know something. It's also kind of rewarding to be able to package that up and help somebody with it. And so I don't think the book would have won all the awards that it did if I hadn't taken a unique approach to what I did. Because look, I'm teaching a comprehensive approach to how to be successful at this. Yeah. I'm not teaching like how to do financial strategies. I'm repackaging financial strategies. I'm not inventing any financial strategies. Compounding is my invention.
Nothing new under the sun, mate. You know, like everything that we're learning and trying to share and teach to other people. You know, it's nothing new. It's all been out there for a long, long time.
Yeah, the value is the tool I built and the packaging of this information. That makes it easy for people to understand it. That's the value. Like you can go and learn about 4% withdrawals or glide path investing or the difference between a pre-tax and an after-tax retirement account. You can go learn all that stuff. It takes a lot of effort. I just said, okay, well, I already did that learning. How do I package it, put it in front of someone who doesn't have a lot of time and who realizes that they need just the right information to know what to do? Because you should be able to read, when you read that book, you can write into a plan. So you read a thing and you put it in your plan. You read the thing, you're like, okay, that's relevant to me or it's not relevant to me. You put the pieces that's relevant in there. And at the end of the day, you literally walk away from that book with the actual plan in front of you that you can share with a finance advisor, you can share with a spouse, you can just crack on your own. It doesn't matter. But I teach all the program management stuff too, because building a program, that's so valuable. But knowing how to run the program, that is where they paid people like me the big money, because at the end of the day, you have to go, okay, let's work on this next task. Let's burn this thing down. Let's look at the report. Let's, find a new strategy here. Let's find what's the risky thing that might bite me. You're thinking ahead. It's always about thinking ahead, because no plan, the plan is stale as soon as you're done with it, because life is way too flexible.
Yeah. A lot of risk mitigation needed, in life, full stop,
Oh, yeah. I have a whole chapter on that, because life is all about those unknowns. You got to deal with it.
There's a lot of them, and they just keep on coming. They just keep on coming, especially when you got crazy people in our governments who control our countries and our lives as such, and you got no say over what them people do in their time in there, and so you've got to be able to find a way to risk mitigate against that sort of stuff, and then that's easier said than done.
And they keep changing the rules. Like in the United States, there were 2 big bills that were passed in recent years. One that's coming into effect actually this month. It changed the way retirement accounts are calculated. There's a new type of savings vehicle. There's new limitations on gifting. There's new cliffs for business deductions. Like the rules just get changed, and people aren't told this. There wasn't some kind of like national memo sent to everyone and the email saying, okay, here's what you need to know about how your retirement accounts, your college savings accounts, your
Yeah,
school loans, and all this stuff are now going to change. No, people, what they is when they need that in their life, that's when it hits them in the face, or it hit the IRS in the United States hits you with it with a tax bill because
yeah,
you made a mistake you didn't realize you were hitting. That's scary and it sucks. And a lot of the rules that got changed are making it better for the richest people and harder for the people who need it
yeah.
more. So the education's even more important.
Yeah, mate, to me it seems like they're really, really attacking the middle class big time,
Yes.
because there's no good attacking the poor because the poor's got nothing. They're already living on benefits and completely owned and controlled by the government as it is. But
Yeah.
to me, it's just crazy. You attack the middle class, mate. The middle class is what holds society up and holds it together and produces all the wealth for all of society ultimately.
Yeah, no,
It's
I think the data proves that. I mean, if you look at the limitations just for being able to put a middle class person to put their kid through school,
yeah,
it's so much more restrictive. There's so much less money you can get from the government, and there's so much more stringent on payback periods and amounts. It's clearly like not trying to do that group any favors there, right? They just
no.
made it harder for that group.
Yeah, yeah, it's madness, hey. Like the wealth gap between the rich and the poor, or more to the point, even the rich and the middle class, is just getting so big now. It's just out of control. Just crazy. It's just running away from us.
The wealth gap is 9x right
Yeah,
now. There's a 9x difference. Median business owners have a net worth around 1.3 million, where employee net worth is $155,000. Uh, this is basically we're talking about a factor of nine difference
yeah,
between someone who like a small business and like the richest. 9x in asset net worth. That's significant. So you can imagine, the smaller business or median business owner, they're just trying to make it by. But, some things like tariffs, like they're a very popular topic right now. Well, that can make it so these businesses just cannot survive,
yeah,
where a larger business can write it off. They can absorb it. They can do other things with it. So it does change the calculus quite a bit.
yeah, mate. It's a very, very unfair the way that the systems is designed, and like I said, if you don't learn what you need to learn about it, like it's just going to continue to eat you alive, and you will just work harder and harder for the rest of your life to just get poorer and poorer. And
Yeah.
it's just wrong, and we need to change it, mate. And the only way I can see that we're going to change it is to do what we're doing, mate. Try educate ourselves and then educate other people. Keep sharing.
Yep, that's why I do my podcast. I've like, how else can I give out free information? I do a newsletter as well. I just try to write these ideas down. I try to talk to them. I try to talk to experts about them. I try to read as many books as I can. I've read so many books at this point, and it's just there's the information is there. Like there's like I can tell quite a bit about stuff because you understand that when moving to the fiat system and how it had a large impact and created this situation we're in. There's a great book about that. Learned a
Yeah.
ton about it, but you can't really change that system, right? Like the average person's not going to get us back onto the gold standard,
No.
but the average person can think about, okay, how can I protect myself when it comes to borrowing? Like, what is a predatory rate when it comes to a credit card, or what types of services or benefits are there out there to help me if I am in a in debt situation,
Yeah.
or I need to get a loan? I just need to get a loan for a business. How can I do that properly? These are the kinds of things I'm covering and trying to help people with, because you can't change the system necessarily, but you can understand the system and then you
No.
can kind of try to protect yourself.
Yeah, there's no good trying to live a life of how you want the world to be, eh? You got to live life how the world actually is. And,
Mm,
there's a lot of it that we might not necessarily like or agree with, but you got to deal with
right.
the cards that are laid out in front of you, eh? You can certainly work towards trying to push for change, and I think everybody should, but you got to deal with the cards that are on the table.
For sure. Yep. Absolutely.
Yep. So, mate, running close on time. We're actually probably gone a bit over time, but that's all right, eh? I could talk to you all day, mate. I really could. It's been a fabulous conversation so far. What's something that you personally could just throw out to the audience as what would be a really good way to work on getting yourself educated around this stuff outside of your book and your podcast, mate? Some simple things that people could look into to start their journey and take them down the right path.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say first, like, just be willing to talk about this stuff. I do think there is like a system, a status quo where like we're kind of told don't talk about money or how
Yeah.
much we make or what we
Yeah, I
do.
agree.
And that feeds into the gender inequality, gender pay gap that feeds into the Gen Z, the new generation struggling to be able to learn from the older generation when it comes to how to invest and do stuff like that. We have to be willing to talk about this stuff. I think that's the first thing is destigmatizing that. I can definitely recommend plenty of interesting books that people could read. I don't know if that's the route you're looking at, but I guess if it would be more on where to get educated outside of my book and podcast, I would probably recommend. I mean, clearly you can find thousands of things on YouTube, but you got to be careful. So some of it's not accurate and legitimate. There's great financial advisors out there, but there's also plenty that are just trying to profit. I guess that's a good advice. So if you're going to go and get educated by a financial expert, you should not have to pay them to meet with them. It should always be free. I would actually go meet with 2 or 3 of them actually. And keep in mind that you need to understand how they get paid. And they have to legally disclose that to you. If they get paid by making trades, I don't think that's necessarily a great incentive for you, because now whatever your plan is, they are always going to be biased to make trades. And data shows that day trading or more frequent trading results in a negative 6% return rate overall. And so that can actually hurt your ability financially. But I'll be honest, like the value in a financial advisor, in my mind, isn't to have an expert who does this for you. It's to have a partner to collaborate with on your plan. You need to build your plan, because you are the only one that's truly biased about your financial success. Nobody
else cares
else
about your money as much as you do, mate.
Exactly. So you need to build your plan. Now, if you want to pay a financial advisor or if you want to schedule time with me or whatever, that's fine. We build the plan, but it's your plan. You're the one that will own it. You will outlive all your financial advisors. Your plan will outlive them. They will retire or they will move on or whatever it's going to be. Your plan is yours forever. The beauty about working with people like that is when you have that plan, now you have a footing to talk to them with. You can say, okay, here I'm thinking about this, and this is the timing for that. And you can collaborate. You can make changes. You can really have something to walk away out of that conversation with a value. Where if you're paying them, what they're going to do is they'll have some spreadsheet, and maybe they'll give you a report every quarter or something, or every year. But honestly, that's their assets. They're kind of holding on to that, but they're yet making you fill in all the data. You're still doing all the work. It's better for you to own that and understand it, and then get the input from them and learn from them. And again, you don't have to pay them anything. When you're first meeting them, they're trying to sell you on their business. They will literally even build reports for you. You can learn it just from those free meetings. So that's a great way to do it. Just go meet with some finance people. And you might want to look for fiduciaries, people who actually are licensed and have your best interest in mind. That's a general good thing to look for. A wealth manager or a financial advisor. Otherwise, if you're looking online, just, don't take everything with a grain of salt. There's definitely stuff out there that I've noticed. They're just kind of, not quite right. There's usually tax issues and stuff or nuances that get over trivialized for clickbaity type YouTubes. I've seen that quite a bit. So be a little careful with that. But yeah, there's a lot of great books out there. The problem with the books is each of them kind of specializes in one area. It'll be like a psychology of money or a budgeting thing or whatever. My book is a comprehensive book. I try to like package everything together. But, you know, these other books are great because they can get you deeper into some of the brain and psychology pieces or specifics of option trading, if that's what you're into, things like that.
No, very good, mate. Oh, beautiful, well said. I, for one, will be buying your book, probably a couple of copies of it, mate, to be sharing it around with my broader family, mate, because I think it's a really good thing. Really good thing.
Yeah.
Try and
Hope it helps.
get it out there, mate, and spread it with as many people as I can through my country.
Well, I give time for free. So, you know, on my website, you can schedule free time with me. I will never charge anyone. Just schedule as many as you need. And I use that to help people apply the stuff from the book and get the plan going. So at the end of the day, the more people I can help get their plan created, the more I feel like I'm doing something, you know, meaningful with my life. So, you know, I'm hoping I can, you know, do that. So feel free to reach out if that's helpful.
Yeah, for sure, mate. Really appreciate that. Before we go up, close up, mate, you want to just give us a bit of a plug for yourself, mate, and to tell my audience where people can find you, mate, and best place to reach out to you.
Oh yeah, I didn't mention it. So yeah, I tried to make it easy. I put everything at escapetheclock.com. So escapetheclock.com. The book is there, the podcast there, the free newsletter, that planner I mentioned's there. You can schedule time with me there. All kinds of stuff, resources are on that site. So yeah, if you go to escapetheclock.com, you should be able to find what you're looking for.
Awesome, mate. And I'll be sure to put all of that in the show notes for sure, so people can get in contact with you, mate, and get a hold of your information. Well, Dan, it's been bloody fabulous talking to you, mate, today, mate, and I hope we can get you back on the show sometime in the future again, so we can expand on this a bit more and dig a bit deeper and keep educating people.
Yeah, thank you, Rodney. It was a pleasure. I really enjoyed speaking with you, and I'm wishing you and the show all the success.
Thanks, mate. Really appreciate it. You have a great day, mate, and keep on stacking, fella.
This has been another episode of the Rodney Bull Show, a Rebel Edge production. Please share with your family and friends, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review.